Okay, I think we're live. All right. Welcome to Enlightened World Networks, One with the Earth, and thank you for joining us. I am Jeanette Wesolowski, and it is my pleasure to introduce our next guest presenter. And I've only just met her a few minutes ago, but I'm really excited after I read her bio because I think this is going to be very informative for all of us. So, Mira is a transformational coach, visionary, and author. She hosts two podcasts, Sustainability Now and The Core Connection. Sustainability Now shares hope and sustainability tools and practices related to food, energy, housing, waste, water, with consciousness being key. The Core Connection addresses timely and timeless issues related to life, meaning, and being from a vantage point of expanded consciousness. So, Mira, welcome. I'm so excited to be here with you.
It's great to be here with you, Jeanette. And I'm just excited and awed about this new initiative from Enlightened World Network, and so privileged to be part of it. So today's conversation is, I call it the UnMoreing, and that's spelled MORE, but it is meant to be a double entendre with MOOR, unmooring. So I've been in the sustainability space with Sustainability Now for 3 years. We're almost at our in April is our 3-year anniversary.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
yeah, it's so cool to be talking to people all over the world who have solutions around sustainability that will take us into a thriving future. And we raise questions, we explore new technologies, and we also look at paradigms, shift of paradigm that is required to be able to really create a thriving world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is so important, to be looking at the things that we don't question, that are shaping our culture and have taken us to this road of um, destruction so far in so many ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are a couple pieces to this. We have been cultivated consumers. We have deliberately been programmed to be consumers, and there are certain uh, dynamics as human beings that we have been uh, oriented to. And what, if we think about how do we value ourselves in the context of personal worth, we look at what kind of car do we drive on a superficial level, or we look at what kind of education do I have, or what kind of contribution do I make in the world, or how many meditations do I do a week, or it's externalization of our worth. What we're looking at is measuring ourselves through externalities, whether it's through possessions or education or accomplishment. We measure our value through externalities. And that's where the advertising industry has let us know that we'll be better people if we drive the right car, or if we
Wear the right
we're
clothes.
ex-
Yeah. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, right.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying because on so many levels, I've been coming to grips with that over the last couple of years and just seeing myself where I just have, I can remember when my children were little, it was all about them. And I had like the same 2 pair of shoes, the same like 4 outfits. It was all about what do my children need? And then as they grew up and it was more about me, it was more about what can I get for myself,
It
you
was
know?
more about more.
Exactly, exactly. And
And
now the opposite is happening. And now I'm like giving stuff away and trying to get back to the basics. So this is
Exactly.
going to be huge for me.
Yes. Well, so thank you so much for that and for talking about those transitions, because, we're acclimated to the notion of retail therapy, right? I don't feel good. I'm going to go get something to make me feel better. And I'm going to do this because that'll make me feel better. I'm going to buy that or go there, or because that'll make me either be better as a human being, be worth more valuable, or it will be making me feel better. So we're oriented and programmed to be looking outside ourselves for our value. That's one thing. Another part of this equation is that we are acclimated to this idea that more is better. So more success, more money, a bigger house, more of everything and anything is better. And it's that attitude coupled with the commodification of life and time. So, what I mean by commodification of life is it actually happens in a literal way where, if you think about insurance, there is a certain metric for understanding how long a person is going to live, for example, right? And it's based on dollars and cents kind of exchange, right?
Yeah.
And we also pay people more or less, and then believe that those people that are paid more are worth more.
Right.
And so, and these are assumptions that we typically don't question in our culture. Like, if I make less money than the CEO of so and so company, then I must not be worth as much. I must not be as worthy as that person. And these are crazy ideas, really. When it comes down to it, we are life happening in the world. Every one of us is life living itself through us. And without having to do anything in the world to be worthy of that life. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And that it's, when it comes right down to it, the second part that you talked about really ties in also with the first part, because what it comes down to is our own worthiness.
That's where we're going, is
Yeah.
sufficiency. That's where we're headed in this conversation, is if we can shift our perception of all these externalities validating us and giving us our worthiness to an experience of reverence for life itself and our own worthiness, our own sufficiency, that we are worthy just by virtue of our being here, that we are life unfolding, every single one of us. And if as a culture we can shift away from this commodification and externalizing our value into this worthiness and sufficiency and reverence for life itself, what will happen on the planet? Because right now we've commodified everything, right? We've commodified nature. We've commodified humanity. We've commodified living creatures. We've commodified minerals. We've attached dollar signs to everything.
Yeah, including spirituality. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
I was
everything.
Mm-hmm. I
Everything.
was just talking to Ruth about this before, and my journey was like when in the beginning of my awakening, it was probably going on 16 years now. It was about finding all the answers outside of myself.
Exactly.
Always. So I was buying books, I was watching videos, I was buying.
Right.
And then it wasn't until a very stressful time where I finally just gave up, and I just said, I gave it to God, source,
Yes.
whatever you want to call it. And the answers came in within 15 minutes. It was like, that's all I have to do. So it's finding those answers within and knowing that we're worthy. Now, the worthiness journey was another extended 5 years. It was.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I think that we are so much at the effect of the programming that we've received, and truly social media, the news media, the just television. If we watch advertisements, and you can't avoid watching advertisements,
Right.
there's always the next shiny thing. There's always the thing that is going to make you be better. And even for spirituality, as you were saying, you know, I'm a better person because I go to a silent retreat every year and I have a solid meditation practice. And so does that make me more worthy as a human
Right.
being? Right.
Right.
So when we connect with that we are life expressing itself on the planet, there's a certain wholeness, a certain sufficiency that presences us, or that we can presence ourselves to through that without needing all the other stuff that we think makes us worthy.
Right. And it's interesting too, because it also comes down to being in the present moment,
Always.
and not okay, when, how can I get this, and what's going to happen in the future, and putting all our worries there, or blaming ourselves for things that happened in the past, when we have no control over the past. Now it's done, it's gone.
Right.
So being present in the moment, which has come a huge practice for me. Not always there, I'm human,
That's
but
that is what
still.
it's all about.
Yeah, it
And
is.
and actually it's interesting you talk about the past. We make up the past. We make up the past by selectively remembering and contextualizing the things that we remember,
Hmm.
and then we take those ideas and that fabrication and project it forward into the future, which
Exactly.
is it's kind of a recipe for craziness.
Hmm.
And so I think that it's very important to be looking at, there's certain the things that we identify as status, the designer clothes or new clothes, or I can't wear this, it has a hole in it, or I pay extra but for these jeans because they have holes in them. It's like, uh, um what if we made it, instead of making it socially uh, acceptable and desirable to have a new shiny car, what if we made it sexy to be wearing things out? What if we made it sexy to, instead of getting the new phone every time a new one comes out, to have one that has been around and had a good bunch of use that meets your needs without having to go get a new one? What if we made it so that we truly realized that we live on a finite planet? And this idea, another thing I want to talk about here too, is this idea of trash. There is no trash in nature, and human beings have, through all this more is better, convenience is better, I would need more time, so I'm going to buy fast food, or I'm going to buy something that's in a plastic container that I can heat up for dinner, right?
Right.
Because I need more time, more, because I'm doing more and more, right? I'm putting
Right.
more on my plate, in a literal and a figurative way. What if what if we slowed down? What if we didn't take on as much? What if we didn't have to get 95 certifications to be able to to do something productive in the world? What if we looked at our behaviors and saw where this idea of how deeply this idea of more is entrenched? Part of when I talk about fast food or all these prepared foods that we purchase, we need to look at what's behind that, what's behind the production of those things,
Right.
and and reduce that.
Yeah. The
Reduce.
containers that they're putting them in, and how they just start building up and building up. And plus, when you take it and you reheat it in the microwave, you're releasing all the chemicals that are in the plastics.
Right.
Or
So,
and yeah,
and the plastics don't go away.
No,
There is no way.
no.
Where they go is in the ocean, where they go is into our waterways, into our bloodstream, into our body as they get dissolved, or into smaller and smaller particles. So more convenience. I
Right.
think what we get to do is to slow down and look at how we are living, and our and we get to vote with our dollars. The
Yes.
things that we decide to buy, the things that we invest in your investments, as well as in your purchasing patterns. To be conscious of the impact that each of us has, and therefore to maybe consume less.
Yes. It's interesting because I was listening to a presenter yesterday, and I can't remember which one it was, but they were talking about how she'll watch people go into a store, and those bottles of water that are stacked up right next to the window, and the sunlight is hitting it, so you have that warmth coming in, releasing the chemicals that are in the
That's
water.
right.
And it made me so thankful that I have got probably about 10 stainless steel water bottles that I
Yes.
use for my water, because I really don't, I try not to use plastic in anything
And so the
anymore.
thing, single-use plastic, thank you for that, by the way. Single-use plastic is the greatest scourge on the planet right now.
It is, it is.
And and there's no reason for so much of it. And
No.
that I think that you pointed out something so important. People buy bottled water because they think it's healthier than the tap. And in so
Right.
many cases, it is not, for the very reasons that you're speaking of. And
Exactly.
not only the chemicals that get released into the bottles, but there are particles, plastic particles in the bottled water also that then go
Right.
into your system as well. And
Exactly.
those
And
bottles stay around for hundreds of years.
forever. Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting too, because I'm very fortunate. I have well water that is absolutely amazing, amazing. But you can go and get filtered water containers to filter your tap water.
Exactly.
There's also a lot of places by us where there's actually spring water that comes out of like a pipe in the ground that somebody put there, and people go and refill their bottles and
Yeah.
bring them home, and that's what they use.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law, because there are places that do have water that has fluoride in it, and
And there
other
are
things,
really good
chlorinated. Yeah,
water filters. I invite you guys,
exactly.
if you're interested, whoever's watching, if you want to learn more about solutions for all kinds of aspects of sustainability, food, energy, housing, waste, water, health, economics, consciousness too,
Yeah,
you can check out sustainabilitynow.global, and you'll be amazed. It's so, one of the things that I think is so devastating for people is the feeling of hopelessness that we can't do anything to change things. And it's so completely untrue. There are so many wonderful things that are happening right now. They're not getting a lot of press. We're not seeing them in the mainstream, but there are some really remarkable things happening. And we can turn around the situation. It is so important for us to really check our consumerism and be alert to the things that we purchase, and also be alert to why. Am I buying this because it's going to fill some kind of hole in my heart where I feel empty or insufficient or inadequate or lacking?
Exactly. And you know what I started asking myself after I purchased things? Did that really make me happy?
Right.
Did that really make a huge difference in my life? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no.
Right.
It didn't. So I'm very, very careful to make sure that anything that I buy that I absolutely love, and that is something that will be as sustainable as possible. I'm not perfect, you know. There, I certainly there are things that I buy.
Nobody is perfect. I'm not
right?
perfect.
But it's if we all just made one little effort, you know. Anytime I think of plastic, I think of that huge. There's this huge thing of plastic that's floating in the ocean somewhere. That's supposed to be this. Yeah, it's supposed to be huge. And my heart just goes out because how many animals have, how many fish have died, or mammals that are in the water too, you know, whales coming up or whatever the case may be. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know I've heard enough to know that it's pretty bad.
It comes back to us. It's not just the fish that are, you know, the fish are consuming
True.
it,
That's true.
and we
Yeah.
consume fish. And so I think when we bring ourselves back to being part of the whole system, one of the other things, and this is actually foundational to this notion of UnMoreing, is that we're separate. We dominate nature. You know, we've had this idea of we had to dominate and control nature. And again, this commodification has enabled us to justify stripping removing the tops of mountains to get the minerals out of the earth. And it has, because we as a culture have this more mentality, and money is almost a deity in our culture, we can justify pretty much anything or have in the name of money.
Yeah.
So we have been able to, like corporations, because they're there to make more money, they can dump their toxic waste into waterways that are going to decimate certain communities. Or the pipelines can go right through communities and leak toxic oil and or gas into a community, and that's okay because the money that is being made justifies that. It's craziness. It's craziness.
It is. It really makes you wonder. And at times, I just scratch my head because I'm like, how is this able to happen? And I don't understand. And I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm not meant to at this point, but how people can turn their heads and do and be okay with making a lot of money when it's really hurting the planet. And they really just, do they really understand
at the
this?
expense of the planet and other people? Yes.
Right.
I do believe that it is possible to make money, do well and do good.
Mhm.
Not necessarily in that order, do good and do well, you know, but
Right.
I do believe that it is possible to use money productively and for healing the planet, you know, for creating a positive impact.
Absolutely.
And I want to see more money in the hands of people who are going to be doing those kinds of things with it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Encouraging
there it is
that.
again. There's the idea of more again, but right now, what we get to do is shift this whole dynamic, and it starts with us. When we recognize our own sufficiency, then we don't feel the need to go buying more of these things, because if I buy a new shirt, it doesn't mean anything about me. If I buy anything, it doesn't reflect on who I am or my worthiness.
Right.
So I think
Absolutely.
it's a very, very, very important thing at this juncture. With COVID, we've come to a place where we've been looking more deeply at ourselves and our lives. I think that that is one of the greatest gifts of
Yes.
COVID. And I think that people have recognized, I don't need all these things.
I know I have.
And it seems that there's a growing tide of people like us that are recognizing, well, wait a second, why do I need more clothes? I mean, because it's a new season. I mean, it's crazy that we had been brainwashed into saying, oh, okay, I need new summer clothes. I need new winter clothes. I can't wear this dress more than once. I can't. I mean, these things that I think so many of us had accepted through COVID. What we're doing is we are questioning more. And I believe that that gives us some hope, that we get to question some of these fundamental values and what our consumerism costs the planet.
Yeah, and I think, like you said too, when we start using our money and directing it in a way that is better for us and better for the planet,
Yes.
that's when people will start to stand up and listen. Like, I like to use good skincare, something that's going to be good for my skin. Come to find out that a lot of the stuff that I used to use was full of chemicals and not very good for me. I changed over to a line that is using all natural products, and the containers that they're coming in are more sustainable.
That's
And
awesome.
it
That's great to
is.
hear.
It's wonderful, and it's catching on. I see that it's growing. I
Yes.
can't. I actually would like to be a representative for it when it eventually comes out. When you can do it in the U.S. Right now, they're not selling it in the
Nice.
U.S. But it it's made such a difference, and I've noticed a difference in my skin, in my scalp.
Well,
I used to,
so
yeah.
the thing that is, I mean, that's all awesome. And I'm so glad you brought up the packaging, because I have found so many marvelous products that are packaged so abusively. They, that are packaged in single-use plastic, that are then wrapped in plastic, that are then packaged in a box that has all kinds of crazy plastic. So I think we get to be more circumspect as individuals, and I think that we want to be really, really looking at our own wholeness.
Yeah.
And so, it occurs to me, maybe we can just take a couple minutes to connect into our wholeness and our sufficiency, the experience of life moving through us, that we are life expressing itself.
Absolutely. Sounds
And
good to me.
okay, so what we can do is just, if you're seated or if you're laying down, just sort of feel into your body, allow yourself to feel the support, if you have support on your back, or feel where your body is touching a surface, and feel the gentleness in your body, just the ease, and allow your breath to just flow simply and easily in and easily out at your own pace. And as you breathe, allow yourself to sink more deeply into your heart and the area of your chest. And as you sink deeply into your heart chakra, that light. Imagine yourself being this brilliant light, just as you're sinking more and more deeply, there's this light that is beaming ever more brightly from your heart outward. And notice that as that light moves outward from your heart, it moves beyond your body, connecting you with the world that before felt separate. And as that light expands even further, it moves into and through anything that it encounters, absorbing it, radiating through it, becoming part of it, and moving even further beyond, beyond your home, getting bigger and bigger, beyond the planet, getting bigger and brighter, beyond all the universe, beyond time, beyond space, until there is only this light that penetrates and encompasses all being everywhere. And as you breathe into this light, perhaps it may be pulsing gently, creating the universe. This light is life itself. This light is consciousness itself, moving into and through all matter, all thought, all time, all space. It is life. It is light. And it is presence. And as you recognize that this is the truth of who you are, allow yourself to be that brilliant light and presence yourself back to your physical form, bringing the light through you and through everything physical about you, bringing that light into every cell, bringing it into every energy center in your being, breathing that light, that life, that consciousness through and into your physical form. And allow yourself to presence yourself once again to the sensations of life flowing through you, to the rhythms, the sounds, the scents, the sensations. And when you're ready, with that brilliant light, allow yourself to open your eyes.
Beautiful.
We are the universe.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are.
And we don't have to do or be any particular way in order to be worthy.
That is so true. And if we can just stay present in the moment whenever we can, whenever we remember to, when we do that, we remember who we really are.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And it's so interesting to me. Um, I talk about how, as Westerners, letting go isn't our natural state. We're,
Right.
you
No.
know, we're more acquisition oriented, right?
Yeah. Giving up control. Very hard to do. Mhm.
So what I came up with that I find a lot easier for me than letting go is expanding to include.
Yes.
And that way, if I expand to include, the more that I can include my anger, I can include my sorrow, I can include my joy. And I recognize that I am then, if I'm including those things, I am none of them. I am all of them. And that way we don't have to identify with those things. And actually, that's one of the ways that I curbed my consumerism too. During a time when I didn't have a lot of money, I came upon this sort of a revelation that the whole world is mine. And, I, all those wonderful things in that store, the store is taking care of them for me. I don't have to grab them and bring them home to my own little home. That they're all out there. The whole world is mine to be able to enjoy.
It's so true. And my sister and I had this conversation, and we have decided that having experiences together was so much better than talking to each other. I mean, not talking, buying for each other. You know what I mean? Like buying clothes or buying some kind of a gift. Let's just experience things together. Go for a massage, go for a walk in nature, go to a meditation group, do something like that. And it's really been quite nice
Yes,
to see
yes,
what we're going to do next. We kind of surprise each other.
I'm sure that sounds like a really wonderful shift.
Yeah,
To
absolutely.
and so the other thing that I talk about as part of this unmooring is being a human being rather than a human doing.
Mm.
And and where that comes from is not doing things external because I want to, like, not running a marathon because I want to win the marathon or because I want to be able to say I ran a marathon, but running a marathon because I enjoy running. Like, to be moving from inspiration, from the beingness rather than the doingness. The doingness, it shows up because we do stuff as people, but to come from a place of inspiration. This is all part of the unmooring. When we unmoor ourselves from all the externalities, then we can start really listening to what our true being is saying and move from that place.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I
Lot.
realized I didn't introduce Maggie. This is Maggie. She's my
Hey,
alter
Maggie.
ego.
Maggie's been so good, just hanging out and going with the flow. And
Yeah, she has been today. She has
yeah,
been. It's mellow today.
she is so beautiful. So, if people want to reach out to you or find out more about what it is that you're doing, where would be the best place for them to reach you?
Okay, well, there are two ways. The podcast Sustainability Now. You can go to sustainabilitynow.global, or you could. My email is Mira at sustainabilitynow.global. You can also listen to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And I also have weekly a weekday morning show the core connection on Enlightened World Network.
I've caught that a few times.
Thank you. Oh, well, that's
Yes.
great to know. So
Yes.
that's just morning musings with Mira and Maggie. And we talk about topics, all kinds of topics, but really it's about looking at life. And so I engage with people there. You could direct message me from Facebook. And also go, if you want to learn more about the work I do, the coaching transformational work, go to yourcoreconnection.com. You can reach me there too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
So,
And okay.
Jeanette, I really thank you for having this conversation with me. I
Oh, it
really
was my
appreciate it.
pleasure. I think it's so important right now. And this is quite frankly what I've been thinking more about than just about anything else, especially I would say over the last 3 or 4 months. Really watching what I'm buying, really being careful about what I'm using.
Yes.
And going forward. So this was a very good conversation for me to part of. There was no mistake that we got put together here.
So cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it
So,
was. So
less is more.
less is more. Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much, Mira. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody on behalf of Enlightened World Network, One with the Earth. Thank everybody for joining us, whether live or on the replay. And thank you again, Mira, for being one of our presenters today. I think it was a very important topic, especially for the earth. And I would like to give everybody my blessings. Namaste.